All right, this is the best way to gut check your pixel. I recommend doing this like once a month and definitely often if you think you have any issues. I'm going to be showing you an account that has a lot of data because I want everyone to have a sense of like what is truly realistic in terms of like event match quality and how we gut check the accounts that we run on our side. Now, this isn't the exact way to set up. This isn't how to diagnose issues. This is my account 95% accurate? So that's the most important thing. And let's jump in. So, first off, the way to get here, events manager on the left hand side, data sources, and then select your pixel. There's going to be a little bit of blur going on here because we are dealing with an active ad account. Once we're in here, there's a lot of events we could play around with. The most important thing that we're going to do is we're going to compare our purchase events and then we'll move down from there. So, what I want everyone to do is go into their purchase event and literally just click right here. The first gut check that we're going for is we're just checking to see if the two lines on screen look close. I know it sounds so silly, but do they look close? So this brand had 11,500 events. That doesn't mean purchases. I'll explain that in a second. So first gut check is really, really close, right? We generally see that whenever we hover our mouse over, we have a very similar amount of, browser events and server events. These are very rarely exactly the same, although they should be very close, at least within 10%. The next thing we do is we click view details. So here in our view details, we get a little better insight of the event volume and we actually see the exact numbers. Now, what we're looking for here is no greater than a 10% difference between browser and server. In this case, we're right under 10%, we're around 8% difference. Very fine. Just so everyone understands, a browser event is being triggered from your Facebook pixel. That's an event that when someone goes through your site, the Facebook pixel pings and it sends that information back to Facebook, or Facebook ads, that is. Your server events, that's the information that Shopify or your e-commerce platform collects and then sends back to Facebook. So it's a little bit different. Pixel is taking from site. Browser is taking from site. Server is pushing from site to Facebook. So there's two ways, and this is basically the conversions API. There's two ways that we are collecting client or customer information and it being sent back to Facebook. The beauty of this is we have two unique sources technically that are telling and allowing to cross check that information. So when one of these is completely out of whack, you have a red flag instantly that can go off in your head. The next piece of this, especially on the Shopify side, and the next thing I recommend doing to gut check is going in to your Shopify store, and I'll show you the exact report that you're going to want to pull. Okay, so once you go over to your Shopify store, you're going to go to analytics, and in your primary dashboard, we're looking at the orders report. This is also known, if you go into reports, the orders over time report. And all we need to do is check if the dates match. So in this case, we're looking at July 16th to August 12th. So here we're going to go July 16th, start, and we're going to end this on August 12th. Here, July 16th to August 12th, a little finicky. We're going to remove our comparison, and then your total orders should show up here. This is a blank store, obviously, but we want this total order amount to match the total order amount that we see in our Facebook manager. Now, this is really important. You don't count both of these up. These are individual. So what a lot of people do, a lot of mistakes that people make is they say 11,500, but my orders here only say 5,000. Oh my gosh, everything's breaking. What you should see is you should see if this says 5,000 right here, then you should see this number. Well, this number doesn't matter. You should see in your view details, you should see this matching. So you generally expect your total server events to one-to-one match, exactly match what you're seeing in this report right here. Literally, if it was 5,979, it should say 5,979 right here. Now, if it's off, there are some things that could happen. If you're placing draft orders if you are checking out yourself. And then there's the very occasional, which doesn't happen all the time, very occasional order that just will get completely missed. Like if someone ordered 2 or 3 things right at the same time, multiple orders at once, sometimes those don't get tracked perfectly. But look, if you're in a couple percentage points here, you're good. This is more important that we're not double counting or over counting than we are slightly undercounting by 1 or 2%, right? This is not an order of being perfect. This is an order of being very, very, very good. And as you can see, your event match quality, once you get a couple hundred purchases flowing in, and I know that might sound intimidating for some people, but for those that are actually getting hundreds of purchases, even if it's per month, per day, per week, 9 out of 10, really 8.8 is usually the benchmark we look for, but anything over 8.4 is good. So that's how we check very quickly the gut check we're looking for the purchase event. You could technically do the same thing for any other event with using your Shopify data as well, but the most important thing is that these events just make sense generally. The easiest ones that you're going to be able to check in Shopify are your add to cart and your initiate checkout. You're going to go through the same process. You're just going to go to your add to cart reports or your initiate checkout reports. I think in Shopify it's not called initiate checkout, it's called checkout started report. Checkout complete or orders would be your purchase events. And things that you just need to keep in mind, or you shouldn't see, this is a funnel, right? So you shouldn't see one of these like completely different than the other. For example, if we saw that there were less initiate checkouts than purchases, that wouldn't make sense, because how is someone purchasing without initiating a checkout? So just draw red flags on things like that in your head. And when you do run into those issues, your best bet is 100% reach out to a developer. We have developers in our resources within our community if you do need help with these things. I myself am not a developer. I'm not going to pretend to be one. So if you ever do need help with these things, get a professional. Don't just hunt for someone on Fiverr who's going to reinstall and rejigger everything. It is way more important to find the right person to do this. Pay up a little bit, because this information, this data is going to feed your algorithm, which we're going to get to in very advanced ways throughout this program.